Hello. Welcome back. Dissonant Waves. This right here is another Minisode. Minisode 20.
Yes.
Ritz is out sick. Tricks, I'm not sure.
I'm here, so.
You sounded a little froggy there for a second.
My bad. I kind of woke up a couple hours ago.
I've been at work for a long time today, so we're all in different stages of tired right now.
Yes.
But since Ritalin is out sick, we decided to do something else rather than our 50th episode Daft Punk Discovery Special. We'll get to that, though, next week.
Indeed.
In the meantime, we have a couple topics to talk about. Number one being this viral TikTok trend video called Possibly in Michigan by Cecilia Condit, which is really a 1983 short film that's been popularized through Reddit a few years ago and, like I said, through TikTok. And then we're going to talk about some NFT business and see how that goes. I'm not going to say I claim to know a lot, but we'll see.
I don't know a lot either, but I'm opinionated on it. Like most of America with politics.
But let's talk about Possibly in Michigan, a movie I discovered in college, probably around the time that it became popular on Reddit. Though I didn't go on Reddit, I just kind of heard about it through other people.
Found it on Tumblr or something.
Oh, did you watch it before I showed it to you?
No, I didn't. I hadn't heard of it until you had showed it to me.
Okay. It's it's a short film. It's a musical about two women who are at the mall and they're stalked by a guy, and they escape and they go home. And the main girl, Sharon, he follows her home, I guess. I'm asking, you know.
I don't know the names, but
the main woman's followed home.
Yeah.
And the stalker becomes an intruder, and somehow the other woman, Janice, comes over and they kill him, and then they make him into a soup and get rid of the bones, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
But it's told through this really like Casio like clippy music number track thing.
Yeah,
it's like
they're banging on a budget keyboard and living for it.
And it is entrancing and like weird and also like a lot of fun to watch. And it's like very 80s, and it's like home video production. There are some cool camera like tricks and like shots going on. A lot of the appreciation, I think, is for like the lo-fi-ness.
Yes.
Music or like videos and stuff and music is so like polished and produced, especially now, that something like this is kind of an acquired taste because it's not polished, it's not like perfect.
Yes, and it's definitely an acquired taste we both have, given we enjoy like Nutri-Milk Hotel and the microphones, so we are a bit biased here. And
this kind of has like Mouse Tui vibes because this is so like homegrown. Cecilia Condit, living in Cleveland at the time, I believe. She's been a professor of like various film related topics at the University of Milwaukee in Wisconsin, I believe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And so she's been kind of local to me. Didn't know about that. She has had some recognition in the art world for being, you know, this short film pioneer, provocateur, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's such an odd thing, you know, like you could say there's feminist overtones, there's a thing, there's an idea here, right?
Yeah.
But like, what about it appeals to you, do you think?
I think it's a number of things. It's like there's like some gay undertones to it, which I quite enjoy. There's I like just weird bloopy synths, and I really like 80s and 90s full motion video in like video games like Night Trap, and what was that one with Christopher Walken?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think that was it. But I'm a big fan of that kind of like goofy style in a way, and so this just kind of ticks a bunch of boxes for why I would like it.
Yeah, I think I'm into it because it's very DIY, it seems.
Yeah.
Like, we like our Petite Leagues and Mouse Tui's as well as the Nutri-Milks and the microphones and all that. A lot of that embodies that DIY spirit of it's maybe not perfect, but there's passion there. There's something interesting about it.
And it was Ripper, not Seventh Guest.
Ripper, right?
6 CDs, and I think that's what I was.
Hmm. I think there's I think in America and like Western culture in general, we're kind of conditioned to like Hollywood movies, and they're very perfect. They're very technically like forward thinking. They're so costly and all that stuff. And here's something like Possibly in Michigan that is like the complete opposite, right?
Oh yeah.
It's cheap. It's old. It is a film made through someone's means, like what conceivably could be shot and made, not teams of hundreds working together to make something CGified.
Yes.
Which isn't bad in its own way, but there's a DIY artist spirit at hand.
Definitely, and the whole thing, to kind of shit. I forget where I was going with this, but there's a whole lot of just undiscovered DIY stuff out there that a lot of the time is a lot more interesting, and sometimes have covered ideas that the mainstream hasn't covered yet, or has covered but not quite deep enough.
Agreed.
I frequent the obscure media subreddit, and earlier I posted this computer core thing where it was like this music video animated on like an Amiga 500.
Yeah.
And it was really weird and out there, and I quite dug like the weird lo-fi cyberpunk style it had.
There's a trend of stuff like this, I think, where it is not what you would consider technically good. Like it is like the sounds peak. The video is very like home video quality. It's not that sharp. It's not that clean.
Yeah, it's soap opera-esque.
And like none of that really matters. Is the thing.
No.
Like I feel like there's a lot of people where that would matter, and it's not for everybody, of course. But I feel like there's like the types of people who that stuff matters. They like seeing the superhero stuff, and that's kind of it. And then there's just people who enjoy just watching stuff to watch stuff and just to take in everything as its own thing.
Definitely.
You go into this and it is what it is. Like either gonna like complain that it's abrasive or something like that, but you could also just like watch it and appreciate what it's actually doing.
There's a lot here.
Like, what do you think? Like, what's here?
Well, the soundtrack is pure like outsider artist.
Yeah.
And like it's like philosophy of the world's level of bad, but in a really good way.
It's catchy.
Yeah, like Cannibal Animal.
Yeah.
Fuck, I hum that a lot.
And like it seems like something you can make on your own in like an afternoon, but also like you didn't, and someone else did.
How does it go? Modern art, I could do that. Yeah, but you didn't.
But there's very much this like appeal of like someone could make that, you could make that, and it's more impressive in a way because you kind of have that idea, that perceived equality with the artist, I think, or that like you're on a similar level. If that person can do that, that kind of says, maybe you could, or maybe, you feel better at your own work, whether it's more proficient or like more weird or interesting because you have something to compare it to that got famous. I know opera, the things about opera is that opera is all sung, right?
Yes.
And this is all sung, so is Possibly in Michigan an opera?
It's actually, I think it's categorized as an opera.
Interesting. Okay. I hope there is a troupe out there trying to put together the totally operatic version of Possibly in Michigan. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Right if I Google Possibly in Michigan, 1983 horror/music 12 minutes. Possibly in Michigan is an operatic fairy tale about cannibalism in Middle America.
Okay, fair enough.
So, yeah, this would be a really cool indie opera to put together.
I'm sure Cecilia Condit would probably enjoy it herself. She seems to be a fan of the TikTok crowd. If the New York Times profile on her is any bit of truthful, like she has done several short films. She's been active since the '80s.
Oh yeah, the video is posted on her YouTube.
Yeah, she just put out something last year. She's actually been more prolific since the 2015 than like all of the '80s.
Yeah.
Half of her filmography comes from like the last decade or so. So
there's one here that just has Beneath the Skin from 1981
Yeah.
as possibly one of the coolest thumbnails I've seen.
I gotta
For a
look
YouTube
for it.
video. I'm posting it in the Discord right now.
Oh, the skull thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading about that. It's talked about, I think, in the profile in the New York Times about how that was actually, because they talk about Impossibly in Michigan, how she remembers like this person she was dating who ate his female friends. I think it's the line. And Beneath the Skin is about that because it actually happened to Cecilia Condit, I guess. That she was seeing somebody who ate other people he was seeing.
Freaky.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So she was really just doing like, write what you know kind of stuff, but it turns into this like absurd, like nobody could possibly believe this is happening or take it seriously, but still be enthralled by it kind of thing.
Yeah. That is like extra interesting that it like actually happened. Whoa.
And like if you think about like if you talk about it to somebody, like forgetting the style of it, you could describe it pretty accurately and it sounds kind of normal.
Yeah.
And so I think this is one of the interesting examples of how like the way you do things is probably the most important. Because you can make a movie or anything about any subject you want, right?
Yes.
You can make your World War II movie, but just because you make a World War II movie doesn't necessarily mean anything. And it's like, whose side are you taking? What perspective are you showing? Those are the things that actually matter and like help make the movie stand out if it does at all.
Yeah. Like there's a joke I heard on a podcast. And it was like just once I want to see a World War II movie where they approach the gates at the beach at Normandy, and when the thing drops, they just start playing "Fortunate Son."
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Just make it incredibly different. Like, what? This is the wrong genre of film.
And like you can make a gay film, and if it doesn't feel true to that experience, then it's not going to matter if it's progressive or whatever people might want to throw at it because it's a big gay film or something like that. It's if you're being genuine, if you're doing something that is your thing, like I think Cecilia does in this, I think that is kind of the important thing. It has to be like your style, your thing.
Yes.
And I mean, I think that's what we appreciate on the podcast in general. I think that's what we also try to do in our own EPs, whatever reflects us. And I think that's also a reason Possibly in Michigan is worth checking out because it's such a reflection of just, it is you, it is whatever you want it to be, it is whatever kind of art you want to make, there's an audience for it.
Definitely. Like I was mentioning earlier in the week that because one of the songs on my EP was short enough that it hit the YouTube Shorts algorithm a little bit.
Yeah.
And it somehow got like 30 times as many views as I expected. I expected to get like 2.5 on it. I think it's sitting at like 70 or something right now, maybe 50 to 70.
I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
People are actually checking out your music, which is nice.
Yeah, and so like it's definitely there is an audience for even the strangest things because it was like the worst song off the EP. It was like the fretless bass intro.
And someone's gonna look at that and think you took it very seriously, and they're gonna be inspired by that. Maybe.
Yeah.
You may have inspired some 12-year-old in I don't know Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or something to pick up the bass.
Yes.
You take that responsibility in your hands, Trick.
I guess I will.
This has been, I think, a broader trend that has become more and more popular in terms of like enjoying art and pieces of art because they're interesting and not because they're good or like technically brilliant.
Yeah.
Like I like Possibly in Michigan. I think it is good for what it does. And I'm not gonna say it's good in like the Hollywood sense, but in like being what it is. Like
this is a great movie to like put on at a Halloween party.
Yeah. But I like, without making the quality comparison, I do want to compare it to The Room, in that I find The Room very enjoyable to watch.
I still haven't watched The Room.
I mean, you know what it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen the clips.
Yeah, I did not hit her. Oh, hi.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Like the movie isn't good, but that's like a pretense at this point. We know that.
Yeah.
The movie is still interesting to watch.
Yeah, like Trolls 2 is another one of those.
Troll 2, not Trolls 2.
Yeah, Trolls 2 is a different kind of bad.
Yeah. But I think The Room in particular is so interesting because there's so many different ways it is, not good. There are so many things it gets wrong, but it still keeps changing and still keeps doing different things. It doesn't get necessarily that boring, except for the over drawn out sex scenes, but that's a different thing altogether. Like something like watching something like The Room. I remember taking The Room to like college parties when I was at community college because my friend loved it so much. He just kept begging me to bring it with me everywhere. And like
The Room guy is here.
you basically, right? And I probably showed The Room to more people than I've showed like art films that I really like. That says a lot about the perceived quality of that movie. Like people really enjoy it. That movie's been on all 7 continents. It has traveled the world. It has gotten more recognition. And yes, it's bad, but also like who cares?
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero have made their living off of The Room being The Room. And I think there's more to take away as an artist from that than, oh man, this crazy opera thing. It's so wacky and stupid. Who makes shit like this? That I feel like I've shown stuff like this that I've liked to other people who don't quite get it, and it's just like, why am I watching this? They're just like, why? This is just shitty.
Yeah, people don't appreciate the effort. They just expect the end.
And maybe it's because we're artists and we kind of get like the effort that goes into making this stuff.
Yeah, there are you. I could hear you spraining your fingers, putting the air quotes on artists. But
I mean, we have done things in the art format ish.
yeah, I'm just making a joke.
Yeah, I know. We have barely the experience that Cecilia Condit does, or anything near any of that. But like, you can take your own experience and extrapolate from there.
Yes, it's sort of related, but I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of them I listen to is like a comedy podcast where it's like about comedy, like stand-up comedy as a whole.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was talking about how when he got started at open mic, it was more inspiring to watch the guys who bombed so hard and then came back the next to try again, rather than to watch the guys that just crushed it every.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's kind of like you start rooting for them. I'm sure, kind of like you want them to do better, and so you're more interested and get more surprised by what they do.
Definitely.
If you and I got together and tried to make something, you think it'd be better or worse than possibly in Michigan?
It would probably be comparable.
You think so?
Yeah, and maybe worse.
Because we have more access than ever to like film and phones and cameras and all that stuff. We can shoot it.
But shooting doesn't really account for style.
No, and the thing too to think about is how much harder it was to get this stuff in the 80s.
Yeah, like the cost of VHS cameras. You had to like.
Yeah, you had to like shell out a bunch to get tape and the VCR camera or VHS camera.
Because this was definitely shot on like VHS as opposed to it was shot on tape as opposed.
Yeah, and then it was overdubbed later because they had to.
Yes.
And like if they just kept the original audio, it would not be anything. It'd just be a big hum and then voices in the background or something.
Yeah, it would be.
And so I think that's also something you gotta appreciate too is how much like there's a bigger barrier to make something like this back then versus now.
Definitely.
Like she had to really believe in this to do it.
Yeah, like there had to be money put down, cameras rented, locations and releases signed for like the mall.
And like she got an endowment of the arts to make it. I think the city of Cincinnati or something also donated money.
Yeah, like it might have been like a college thing.
Not entirely a college thing. She was, a grown woman by then, just making movies. But apparently I was reading in the thing that it was also something that the Christians in the 80s were like rallying against. Like apparently
that makes sense. They were kind of rallying against everything.
Like it played in the 700 Club or something. And it's like as an example of the evils of society. But it's like it's just surreal and weird and like I think I like stuff like this because I don't necessarily want to predict what happens next. I just want to let it be what it is. Where more traditional stuff, you start just kind of knowing what happens and just start thinking about it more.
Definitely.
Like you're able to live in the moment in this one.
Yeah. Ooh, hiccups.
What else? What else do you think?
I think it's just I think that more can be learned about it by watching it than listening to two people talk about it. So
Yeah,
if you listen to this and it sounds interesting, please go watch it. It's free on YouTube. It's on her It's on her YouTube page.
yeah. Like she's wonderful in uploading that stuff to YouTube, and all of her. I think a lot of her short films are up there, including excerpts from other stuff. So there's a bunch to watch. We should probably watch some other stuff at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
But kind of transition a little bit. I think it's worth rewarding stuff like this that has genuine art and like passion behind it. It's not just like a digitally generated blockchain series of numbers that
Yeah.
you just buy for stupid amounts of money.
Yeah, that more often than not was already stolen off of another artist.
Yeah, we're speaking of NFTs.
Yes,
Uh,
non-fungible tokens,
sure, non-fungible fungible token.
or as somebody I follow on Twitter, Foon, the technical wizard who got Doom running on a pregnancy, he calls it coal for cash or coal for art.
Right, because apparently the devastation, like environmentally, is terrible for every NFT made.
Yeah, like one NFT for sell. The amount of energy for one NFT is like equivalent to having the one European citizen's carbon emissions for a year.
And that's wild to think about. Like, how does it generate that much power?
It comes down to like mining for Bitcoin is incredibly intensive, with where you're basically just running a farm of people for 24 hours a day,
Hmm.
and it just produces so much heat, so much energy, and like there's all you need to do a bunch of different like transactions, and that takes up more, even more processing power. And it's just one of those things where when you look into it, it's turtles all the way down.
Okay, John Green. Okay,
I was thinking more along the lines of fucking Discworld, but
I've never read Discworld, so maybe. But I mean, I the only appeal I see in something like an NFT is an artist, and I don't really want to ever do them or anything. I don't really see the appeal, literally. But it just seems like a way for rich people who want to own art to just buy what they think is art, and it's just the digital license of an art. And it's not really the art.
it's Wu-Tang Clan's One Night in Shaolin.
Except that was a physical thing, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Or this is just a string of numbers and letters that tell you that you own this thing that is just a digital piece of art.
Yeah.
And do you really own it? Who knows? Who can say? Like, sure, that will say you do, but if anyone else has that downloaded, if anyone else has seen it before, they kind of own it too at that point.
Yeah, like like nobody really owns anything on the internet. Like, granted, I'm guilty of it. I've used images without licensing or permission, that sort of thing. Especially like doing stuff for the podcast. I'll be the first to admit that okay, we might if we get requested to take these images down, I will definitely remove them.
Sure.
But at the same time, I feel like I've worked with them enough. It's fair use. Weird.
I mean, yeah, I've done similar things as well. If I need to take them down, I will. But we're not like pretending that they're ours. We're using them in conjunction with the artist. And like we're talking about the artist, so we're going to talk about something related to them, to the artwork. Where this is just saying, hey, this picture of a graham cracker that I bought or that I have here, the artist made it, but I have the license. Here you go. Give me $2 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's just wildly speculative right now. And that is the one benefit I see for the artists is just getting a ton of money for something like that.
Songs and
What was that?
a lot of musicians are selling like albums and songs.
Right. And it's like, I guess in my case, I would rather like almost trick them. And like they get what they want, but it's not really what they want. And I get $12 million or whatever. But A, it's not worth the environmental impact. B, that's just like a fantasy thing. That's never going to happen.
A lot of musicians now are selling albums and songs and EPs as NFTs now, which is good for them, I guess. But at the same time, it makes finding music harder.
Yeah.
Like Clowncore comes to mind because they're like one of the few artists that I follow that I saw did this.
Yeah.
There's actually a musician I follow who did like the opposite
Hmm.
of this. When this whole thing came out, he put a bunch of his projects out as like free and open source, where he just like released all the stems for
That's really
songs.
cool.
Yeah, and I think this is just a way for rich people to lube up with dinosaur juice and say that they own expensive things that are really.
Right, and I'm wondering, like, it's gonna be a bubble that bursts eventually. Like, it's all
Oh
speculative. There's nothing really there. It's just a digital representation of a picture
yes,
of like a box that's also an orange. I don't know.
yeah. It's like, have you heard the conspiracy theory that modern art is just money laundering?
I can see that in a way, but I mean, there are also, I think, honest art dealers out there, art people.
Yes, there is, but like, there's a lot of the thing where it's like, oh, this painting is worth $400 million, when in reality it's probably worth about 400, and they bought it so that they could launder the money and turn dirty money into clean.
Interesting. Okay, it's one of those things like when you discuss bringing it up on the podcast, it's like one of those things where it's like, am I ever gonna really be affected by NFTs? And I guess maybe environmentally I will. Maybe if I do release stuff as an artist, I will. But it already just seems like a bad idea. It already just seems like a thing that some people are going to take advantage of if they're like entrepreneurial in spirit.
Yeah,
And then there's people it's like us where it's like, oh, that's a thing now. Okay, cool. Who cares?
yeah. I'm more interested in it for like the environment impact.
Right. It's almost like a trend.
Yeah, like this is gonna be the Beanie Baby of the early 20s.
I wonder how easy is it to just take advantage of somebody's money and be like, yeah, this is a picture of GLaDOS from Portal. Like, do they see the NFT that they get, or is it just the string of codes and numbers? Trix will be right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not sure why Discord's acting up, but as I was saying, I think it's just sort of a thing where anybody can release anything as an NFT. Like you can sell tweets as NFTs.
Right, but do you see them really?
I am not qualified to answer that.
Like, I guess there's no like beyond just buying and selling of the NFT. There'd be no like certificate or anything showing that you actually owned it. You would just have the thing, the link, the code.
Yeah, there might be a certificate. I don't know. I'm not gonna buy an NFT to find out. That being said, I got an ad on Twitter for I think possibly the worst NFT I've ever seen.
Okay.
And it was 4 pixel art images of Rick from Rick and Morty, and it was called Crypto Rick. I wanted to die when I saw that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That about sums up the audience for NFT.
Like, and there's also the argument to be made about like you're an artist who, if you really, if you're like one of the artists, you're gonna just go out there and not care necessarily about the money you make. It's all about just making your art as good as it can be.
Yeah, art and exclusivity have always been linked.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where should they really be linked?
I like owning stuff. I understand the appeal of owning things, like real physical things.
Oh, definitely.
But like just buying up a token because it says you own something, that just seems like you're begging for something to do with your money. Like you don't even know what to do with it.
Definitely. There's a lot there with NFTs and just yeah. And I already saw somebody try and like get racist with it, if that makes sense.
Racist?
Yeah, like it was basically like whiny dude complaining that, oh, if I hear that like the African American community is like oppressed because like they didn't hop on this train fast enough and didn't make money, it's just gonna be your fault. You guys are a bunch of whiny babies for saying it's impacting the environment. Something
Right.
like that.
Like I'm glad that we follow artists like Lorenzo who are anti-NFT, and we are anti-NFT. Like we have all kind of agreed on that without even really thinking about it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm curious if that's going to have repercussions for people who put out their art and NFTs in a serious way, like Kings of Leon or something.
Yeah.
Like I can see it as a trend that gets forgotten, but
Yeah, like I don't think there was another artist that attempted the Wu-Tang Clan.
no, just the single volume,
Yeah,
like the single record or whatever.
yeah, that like part of like there was a clause in the contract that stated that they could pull a heist to steal it back.
But only steal it back,
Yeah.
not give it out to somebody else who could like save it.
Yeah. And I think the government,
The government?
because yeah, like Martin Shkreli.
Oh, they could take. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, when he bought it for $2 million, I want to say, and then when he got arrested, they seized a bunch of his assets, and so they seized his copy of One Night in Shaolin, and so the feds own a rare Wu-Tang Clan album.
Yeah, the rarest. Has it been leaked?
I don't think so. Like there have been tracks playing on the background of like Instagram posts by Shkreli.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of qualifies as like a weird case of lost media that I doubt we'll ever see surface.
I hope we do. But I guess my original point was something like, you're gonna support the artist. Why support the NFT thing when I think it's much more meaningful to support something like Possibly in Michigan? This piece of like passion versus just the paycheck.
Yes.
Like, would I like a nice paycheck sometimes? Sure. But would I rather have people know my art and understand and respond to that? Absolutely.
Definitely.
Do you have anything else to add about that?
Nothing other than the latest internet funny money scam for strings of numbers is bullshit as always.
Well, it's uncomfortable for me in a way just to see like people fall for the trap almost, and so I think I'm just kind of anti-NFT on principle.
Definitely.
And I don't know if it really helped anyone understand them better. I think maybe just ourselves, if anything. So maybe the conversation has value in that. I don't know.
Yeah, we were more kind of just talking about them as a whole.
And for the environment, I think, like if there wasn't this pushback, would there be like a stigma about artists who have and don't have NFTs and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Or is this like one of those things where we're just thinking it's odd now, but in the future we're still gonna think it's odd, but it's gonna be a common thing? I don't know.
I feel like we kind of covered it all. There wasn't really much there with the NFTs, and that's kind of why I tacked it on.
Yeah.
To this discussion.
Yeah, I think it's gonna do it for us. Otherwise, just Possibly in Michigan is cool. Check it out. NFTs are bad. Don't check them out.
Definitely not.
I'm Dominic. You can still catch me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI and on tiltingwindmillstudios.com.
I've been Trix. You can catch me on Twitter at procrastronaut_. That's procrastinating astronaut, and then an underscore at the end of it. I have a YouTube channel where I do weird bass stuff and music, and you can catch us all on Twitter at Dissonant Waves, and our website, dissonantwaves.space.
Yeah, and after this should be our Daft Punk episode. Look forward to that. And
we'll talk about Interstellar 5555.
And the 20th anniversary of Discovery and Daft Punk breaking up. It's gonna be a fun time. Look forward to it, everybody. Bye.